Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Big Akar Ahmed and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be going ahead and taking a look at the Holy Quran. And we're going to be taking a look at the words from Hebrew that are located in the Holy Quran and how the Holy Quran uses them in a very, very special way. In a way that is very, very difficult for a normal human being to go ahead and write these things. Now, the Holy Quran is a miracle. And the way it is a miracle, it is a linguistic miracle. Meaning that these words seem to be coming from God. It is written in a first person perspective, as in God is talking to you and God is talking to specific groups of people. It has scientific miracles, biological miracles, astrology miracles. It has miracles such as poetic and mathematical miracles, linguistic miracles that we're going to go over here today when it comes down to connecting the Hebrew words with the Arabic words. They're both Semitic languages, their uses, how they're used, and how these sentences are formatted and put together. Now, we'll go into some of the other miracles and how the Quran is really, written or broken down or finalized, right, in the specific order that it's in. And we'll go ahead and take a look at numeric, miracles next. We'll go ahead and take a look at biological miracles next. But it's truly, truly amazing when you start breaking down the sentences, when you start breaking down the surahs and the ayahs of the Quran, and you start seeing how it's put together. And you're like, well, this is crazy. And then you see how it's put together and you're mind blown, and then it's deeper and deeper and deeper. That one little sentence or that one little word, how deep that one little sentence or word can really take you in the Holy Quran as far as depth and substance is insanity. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this.
Usain Bolt is a well-known Jamaican sprinter. The funny thing about his name is that it is Bolt, while he is, or used to be, the fastest man on earth. So his name is actually referring to his amazing ability. Just like the English poet William Wordsworth. His name is a reflection of what he does. We call that in English an aptronym. And it is something that you can only understand and be able to make such references if you do understand English and know the meaning of the words Bolt and Wordsworth. Otherwise, you can't refer to this linguistic subtlety, or when heard, it will go right over your head. But what does any of this have to do with the Quran? Well, one of the biggest claims against the Quran is that it was authored by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, since he was the one dictating his companions. But surprisingly, the Quran contains some subtle clues and aptronym-like references to other languages that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, could not have possibly known himself, proving in an interesting way the divinity of this book and emphasizing the linguistic marvel of the Quran.
So basically what he's saying here is that there's these aptronyms. And an aptronym is when something means something, but it is put like in a name. For instance, like he's saying like Usain Bolt. Bolt being a reference to his speed, right? Because that's who he is. Or like Spider-Man, because he's a spider. So if you didn't know English and you don't know what the word spider means, or you don't know what the word bolt means, you would think it's just their name. You think that this guy's name is Spider-Man, or you think that this guy's name is, Usain Bolt. But you would have no understanding of the meaning of Bolt because he runs fast. And it would only make sense if you understood the English language. Now, he's going to go into the Quran and he's going to show aptronyms that are from the Hebrew language that are located in the Quran and explained upon in a very, very, very more complex way. And what he's saying is, how would the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, be able to do this when first off he speaks Arabic, he does not speak Hebrew, and secondly, the Arabic that he does speak, he's linguistically handicapped when it comes to it. He is, illiterate. He cannot read. He cannot write. So how is he going to go ahead and put together the Holy Quran, one of the most complex and miraculous things that has ever been given to mankind? So I think this is where we're going.
To understand more what I mean, let's look at this first example. At the beginning of Surah Maryam, Allah mentions Prophet Zakaria. But notice the choice of words when Allah first talks about him in the second ayah. ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ عَبْدَهُ زَكَرِيَّا. The name Zakaria is originally a Hebrew name, which literally means the mention of God. or the mention of the Lord. And notice how the ayah starts.
It's crazy. So yeah, like he's saying, the name Zachary or Zachariah in Hebrew literally means the mention of the Lord. That's what it translates to in English. Now, when you're translating the whole entire verse, and let's exclude his name right here, it says a mention of the mercy of your Lord to his servant Zachariah. So the surah is literally using the meaning or the astronym of his name as the explanation to, mentioning Zachariah in the first place. So Zachariah literally means a mention to your Lord, and God is saying a mention of the mercy to your Lord to his servant Zachariah. So this is very interesting.
In Arabic, ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ, which provides an incredible reference to the meaning of the name Zachariah in Hebrew, but delivering it in Arabic, producing a satisfying symmetry to the ayah. A mention of the mercy of your Lord to his servant Zachariah. The mention...
Because if you know Arabic, you don't know that the word Zachariah means the mention of your Lord. Because the word Zachariah does not mean a mention to your Lord in Arabic, because it's a Hebrew name, meaning it doesn't have a meaning in Arabic. It's just a name. So the fact that the Arabic surah, the Arabic context around the name Zachariah explains what the word Zachariah means in Hebrew, in Arabic, but not revealing that's what it means. Like, it's not saying that Zachariah's name is this. It's just saying a mention of the mercy of the Lord to his servant Zachariah. It's just one with each other. You understand what I'm saying? And it's in a completely different language. So there's no way to basically know this if you're reading in Arabic or only know Arabic.
Of the Lord. If you think this is far-fetched or a bit too constrained, let us check another example. This ayah speaks of Ibrahim's wife when she received the news of having Ishaq. But take a good look at the choice of words here. وَامْرَأَتُهُ قَائِمَةٌ فَضَحِكَتْ. The word ضحكت means laughed. Do you know how many times this word was used in the Quran? Well, it was chosen to be used in the Quran only once, in this very ayah.
Awesome.
When she received the news of having Ishaq. Now, the name Ishaq in Hebrew is Yitzchak, which literally means to laugh. And it gets even better. The rest of the ayah. وَمِن وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقَ يَعْقُوبَ. So Allah specifically used وَمِن وَرَاء. And after Ishaq, Yaqub. Can you guess what the name Yaqub means in Hebrew? Well, it means the one who comes after. So with each name, there is that subtle reference in its Hebraic origin, showing that the one who wrote this must know Hebrew. Otherwise, these references would have been impossible to come up with. Here's a third example. Otherwise, origin.
So I want to go back to this example. That's actually amazing. Subhanallah. That Ishaq's name means laughed or laughing. And Jacob, right, or Yaqub, his name in Hebrew means the one to come after. And in the verse here, it says, and his wife was standing and she laughed, talking about Sarah. Talking about how Sarah laughed when she found out she had good tidings of Isaac, whose name literally means laugh. But it only means laugh in Hebrew, meaning if you read this in Arabic, it just looks like she laughed and when she got good tidings of Isaac. And then after Isaac came Jacob, and Jacob's name in Hebrew means the one to come after, where there's no reference or understanding of this in Arabic linguistics or Arabic understanding. You would have to know what the root name of these people meant to go ahead and put a sentence like this together. And an illiterate man in the middle of Arabia who is being fought, and people are trying to take him out and kill him in the middle of, the desert, he's not going to know this stuff. And this is really, really, really interesting, and this is very, very, very amazing to go ahead and see the breakdown in things of this nature that we're finding 1,500 years later. There's so much in the Holy Quran that's still being uncovered, still being figured out. People are like, oh. And you would think after billions of converts and people reading this book over 1,500 years They would have already found everything. But still to this day, the miracles are unrevealing themselves. Still to this day, the prophecies are unrevealing themselves. Still to this day, things that made no sense are starting to make sense with the times. And it's crazy to see. Subhanallah. And it's so, so, so beautiful.
With each name, the one who wrote this must know. Here's a third example, and you will start seeing it here yourself. يا يحيى خذ الكتاب بقوة وآتيناه الحكم صبيا وحنانا من لدنا وزكاة وكان تقيا. This ayah talks about Prophet Yahya. Here, Allah uses a very unique word describing what He granted His Prophet, Hanana, which means compassion, kindness, gracefulness. This word was not used in the Quran except in this context in relation to His Prophet Yahya. And I think by now you can already guess the literal translation of the name Yahya or Yahuhanan, which then literally means the Lord has shown compassion or kindness, which is another incredible reference to what the actual meaning in Hebrew is. Even the name Ibrahim, Millata Abikum Ibrahim, it is the religion of your father, Abraham. Again, the name Ibrahim literally means the father of many nations in Hebrew. And Allah refers to him in this ayah as your father, the father of many nations. But the Quran being the miracle that it is,
the point of this is to look at it and ask the question, when the Quran was written and compiled, was it written and compiled as this poem so that you can see that it goes ahead and says that, these Hebrew names go ahead and mean the sentence before it? And this is like some type of like cool coincidence or some type of cool miracle or some type of cool party trick or, writing trick? Or you have to ask the question is, if the people who wrote it don't know any of this stuff, they don't know Hebrew, they don't know what these names mean, they don't know what they translate to, they don't know the importance of them, then maybe it's not written like that. Maybe God Almighty, because He named these prophets these things, and these people were given these names because they were prophets. Maybe when God just describes them, He describes them using the vocabulary that's around their names, right? The most compassionate one, or the most brave one, or, things of this nature. So it's crazy to me to see that you have to ask a question. Like, you literally have to ask a question. Where did this come from? Is this like a writing trick? And if it's a writing trick, how many more layers can we go until you realize that it's not a human being writing this? This is not human intelligence writing this. Because no matter how deep you go into a word or how deep you go into a sentence, it has more and more layers. And you think it's so simple, but it's not. It really is not.
Take such references to an even deeper level. In this ayah, when Allah gave Bani Israel a command, خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاسْمَعُوا. Take what we have given you with determination and listen. But let's see what they said. قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَعَصَيْنَا. They said, we hear and we disobey. Well, from the surface, this sounds like a normal ayah. Bani Israel refusing Allah's command. But here's something very interesting. If you look at how this story is mentioned in the Torah, specifically in Deuteronomy 5:27, you will notice that it says, we will listen and obey. Now this is of course a translated version from the original Hebrew text. So let's look at what this phrase sounds like in its original Hebrew. وَشَمِعْنُوا وَعَصِينُوا. This is what we hear and we obey sounds like in Hebrew. And in the Quran, it says, قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَعَصَيْنَا. We heard and we disobeyed. You can clearly hear the similarity of how these two phrases sound like across the two languages, which is a clear reference to what they claim to have said in the Torah, while in reality, they listened, but they disobeyed. Such references that transcend and go beyond a single language requires that you know both Arabic and Hebrew to get it, let alone to produce something like this. And this was something that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, could not have done himself, simply because he did not only know Hebrew, but he was even unlettered in Arabic.
Some people give the most crazy excuses, right? So, guy, middle of Arabia, claims to be a prophet. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Linguistically, not there. Cannot read or write. Knows Arabic only. Lives in the middle of the desert. Has nowhere to go. Has no schools. Has nothing of this nature. And people are consistently, by the years, as he's becoming a prophet, trying to kill him and trying to kill his followers. Where in a 30, 40-year span of him getting married, having kids, fighting defensive wars, is he going ahead and learning Hebrew, learning and becoming some type of high, rabbi of some sort that Jewish people don't know about, to then go ahead and produce a book of such magnitude that isn't even a book, became a recitation, meaning he memorized the whole Quran, and he would recite the whole Quran to his followers, to his people, and they would memorize it. So the Quran is not even a book, it's a recitation. So imagine this whole entire book with all of these miracles, with all these linguistic specifics, are just memorized by this man who is being chased down his whole entire life. Like, where did he find the time to do all this? How did he do it? And where did he get the linguistic knowledge and power to go ahead and produce something of this magnitude? For then people to go ahead and demise this man, to go ahead and demise the religion of Islam, to go ahead and demise the Holy Quran. And it's because they've never read it. They don't understand the weight behind it. They don't understand the complexity behind it. And they don't ask these simple questions to themselves. Such simple questions to themselves.
It is the one who knows everything that has revealed the Quran. And while such subtleties may have not been this clear to the Arabs, since they were more challenging to Bani Israel, there were other types of linguistic and stylistic subtleties that can be seen and noticed by the Arabs, like a portion of this ayah whose meaning reflects how it can actually be read. وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. And he is the one who created the night and the day and the sun and the moon, all in an orbit, swimming. Interestingly, this part of the ayah can be read the same way in both directions. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ, referring to the actual meaning of the phrase itself.
Subhanallah. Like, look at this. So, like, these are just small little things, right, that are just there, right? And this is a whole entire book. And this is not even a book that is written down. This is a memorization by an illiterate man in the middle of a pagan society. So how did he go ahead and put this together? Through memorization off the top of his head, and then memorize it. The fact that when it's talking about how the planetary things have orbits, and you can read that all of it is in an orbit, and the sentence all of it is in an orbit is literally in an orbit, and you can read it from front to end and end to front as it goes into an orbit, is mind-boggling. This is mind-boggling linguistics. This is not something normal. This is something that is just like there. And I like, when I see things like this, it really, really blows my mind. SubhanAllah, like, it blows me back. When I see things up close, like flowers and nature and things of this, and I really look at it, I look at the details. When you really break down the details of God's creation, of what God has given to us, when you go ahead and see things like this, it really puts things into perspective. And you sit back and you go, what am I? I'm nothing. I need to turn back to my creator. I'm not doing enough for myself and my creator. I'm literally living this physical garbage life. I need to turn to my spirit. I need to turn to my creator. I need to turn to the thing that created all these things. Look how complex the world is around me, and look how simple of a person I am. So this is crazy. This is subhanallah. This is so beautiful. And it's something that everyone needs to see. People need to see the linguistic miracles of the Holy Quran, and the numeric miracles of the Holy Quran, and the scientific miracles from biology to astrology to chemistry to all of these different things in the Holy Quran. And it's something that is just impossible to have known 1,500 years ago, especially with the information the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had. Could have only came from some type of higher power.
Finally, if you are already thinking, well, I can make something similar to what we have seen today. Some Arab poets have even written poems that could be read from right to left and from left to right. And by looking up some meanings of names, I too can come up with such references. And this is exactly where most of these oppositions get it wrong.
You see what I was saying before? As much as someone tries to go ahead and make a poem make sense from front to back to front, doing the same exact thing, it wasn't a recitation or a memorization of a 400-page book. Like, this was all put together as a memorization, not as a book. Something the Prophet Muhammad memorized, right? Peace and blessings be upon him. And this is something that has not just linguistic miracles, numeric miracles, and like I said, biological and physiological and all types of scientific miracles and prophecies. How is this all put together like that? It's not just like a poem. This is way deeper than a poem. It's a biology book. It's a history book. It's so much more than that. And the layers of all of those things, when put together, make it near impossible to do anything such as this. And it's been impossible to mimic or to show anything that is even close to this through linguistics over the last 1,500 years by all of humanity. And it has been unmatched, untouched. And it's something that is very, very interesting, because in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, go ahead and challenge this Quran. Go ahead and try and produce something like it. You cannot. And this is a challenge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us can never be beaten. Is the challenge of going ahead and beating the linguistics of the Holy Quran. It's impossible. So
they only look at the Quran from a single angle, and they want to imitate it. Yeah. And they leave everything else behind. And then when challenged, they complain about moving the goalpost. The Quran is miraculous because it contains layers upon layers upon layers of miracles of all kinds and types. Yep. There are so many angles and aspects to it, which are all elegantly embedded into the text, and all of this exists at the same time in the same text, while providing accurate, scientifically correct, uncontradicting, and just simply linguistically marvelous text. But for us, it is not a mystery how something can be so perfect, because it is the word of Allah.
It is 100% the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single person going ahead and watching this video, I 100% suggest you read the Holy Quran. If you are Muslim, if you are not Muslim, read the Quran. It's such an easy read. You think your creator, the thing that created you, created the heavens, the earth, everything in between, you think he's not going to make his rule book easy to read? You think he's not going to make it easy to read? The Bible is very difficult to read. I'm going to tell you this right now. Reading the Bible, very, very difficult to go ahead and read through the Bible. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of this guy told this guy this, and he was this age and this color, and he went to this place, and the grass was this many inches tall. The Bible is very, very jam-packed with a bunch of stuff. The Holy Quran, it reads like butter. It jumps back and forth like a puzzle. It takes you through it like something speaking to you. It's God speaking to you. He speaks to you. He speaks to the Jewish people. He speaks to Christians. He speaks to the angels. He speaks to the jinn. He speaks to everyone. God Almighty is speaking to you. And He's speaking to you in some of the most amazing ways you've ever seen linguistically. And it's so miraculous. Please, 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 anyone that has never opened the Quran, read the Quran, Muslim, non-Muslim, open the Holy Quran, read the Holy Quran. It is truly life-changing. You will not stop. You will continue to read it. And it's something that just keeps your heart, your soul hooked to it. This is not a physical hook. This is a spiritual hook. And it's something that you feel and it lightens you up and it relates to everything in your life. You think that, oh, in this 400 pages, it's not going to solve everything. It's going to solve everything. When I tell you it's going to solve everything. You think about something, and then 2 sentences later on the next page, it hits you, and the answer's there. And you're like, subhanAllah, this is crazy. And then you think about something else, or you have a problem in your life, or this or that, and you flip the page, boom, there's the answer. It's so miraculous, it's so amazing, and it's truly something that was given by God as one of the greatest miracles through all of history. Please pick up a Quran. It's physical. You can go grab it today and read it. Please, please, please. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. God bless every single one of you. And until next time, free Palestine, baby.